Hey Geo Nerds, here we are today up at
Julleratt.
or Mount Julleratt if you're from around here. This is behind Redbank, behind Ipswich, in the coalfields. Look at the geology, it's awesome, great cutting. Thanks to Troy for telling me about this. Anyway, I think what we should do is smack this with a hammer and make it tell its story. So you know what I'm going to say? Let's rock. Well, here we are, Geo Nerds, hauling in over Mount Julleratt, back there with the quarry, and this is the hill we're going to look at. It isn't actually Mount Julleratt, but it is on the side of the road. Mount Julleratt, you know, Mount Julleratt, Mackay. Let's not go there again. This is a substantial cutting, and it's quite safe. There's a bus stop there. There's no buses, so it's quite safe. Have a walk around, have a look at this. Let's have a look at the geology, because it's a bit more complicated than you may think. That quarry is on some trachyte, which is an igneous intrusion. And this is all sandstone. Sandstone quarry here, a few hundred metres up the road. We're mining trachyte. What's going on here? Let's have a look. Well, here we are, folks, over Springfield Railway Station, flying up the freeway towards our hill. Those red bits are trachyte intrusions, and they're about 20 million years old. They're part of the hotspot activity. They come through all of this rock. That pale green section there is the Ripley Sandstone. Let's just go through the rock types near here. You've got the Aberdeen Conglomerate, Raceview Formation, Blackstone Formation, Ripley Road Sandstone, Redbank Plains Formation, Silkstone Formation, and the Mount Julleratt Intrusive Trachyte, which, by the way, is Tertiary Intrusive Trachyte, which is abbreviated to TIT on all the geology maps. So there's a hill down there, bang, right in the middle of the Ripley Road Sandstone. So folks, here's the awesome cross section you get from the bus stop. Ripley Road Sandstone right to the top, probably about 25 metres of it. Below that, you've got the Raceview Formation, which is no sandstone. There is some quartzose sandstone in there, but there's also a lot of shales and mudstones. So how old is this stuff? Well, it doesn't look like it's at a different age, but it is. Obviously, the oldest stuff on the bottom is late Triassic, and the stuff on the top is early Jurassic. There's still 50 million years difference in their age. And we'll have a look at the contact zone in a minute. It's quite interesting. You know, Ipswich is such a cool town. It has a future bus. I wonder what the future bus timetable is, because there's a future bus stop. Must be a future bus timetable somewhere. Cool. Hey Geo Nerds, here we are today at the back of Ipswich. There's a place called Mount Julleratt, or Mont Julleratt, if you want to be French, although the people it was named after were Swiss. And up on top of this mountain here, as you'll see somewhere there, there's a radar station, a weather radar station. That's not what we're here for. The fact that this is a great big piece of trachyte behind us, and just over there's another great big piece of trachyte. Volcanic intrusions that came up under this ground not that long ago. We get to the maps, I'll explain that. And created these hard rock intrusions. And there's a massive quarry on the other side of that, where they mine this trachyte, use it for road base, etc. And just on the other side of that, there's a big road cutting we're going to go and have a look at, which cuts through the Ipswich sedimentary layers beautifully, and we can see them all exposed. So that should be fun. So hang in there, let's go and have a look. Well, today here we are, folks, up at Mount Julleratt Drive, and this is fine cutting here. And we're going to have a look through this because this is quite a good cross-section of the Ipswich strata right here, laid open for us. So let's get into it. Let's go and have a look, eh? Now this is a really big feature, folks. I'm certainly not going to sit here and smack a piece out of every layer for you because it is a really big feature. But there's some interesting changes here. There's some interesting divides. Let's go and have a closer look. As you can see up there's a really well-defined sandstone unit, and below it there's sort of an argillitic clay, and below that we have all this mudstone and siltstone, and there's coal. We'll smack a bit of coal out of this in a minute for you. Just there's a little coal seam right there, and there's seams of all sorts of different deposits from the alluvial activities up here over the really 50-60 million years this has been here. And that sandstone group is the group that White Rock is made out of. Same group. White Rock's not too far from here, 4 or 5 kilometres. And here's up close up of one of these shelves. As you can see, I don't really need a hammer to break these up. This is very poorly cemented sandstone. It would be sandstone if we come back in about 20 million years. But it is actually quite. You can see there are grains of sand in there, just poorly welded at the moment. That's interesting. It's got pieces of bentonite in that. Amazing stuff. I'll get the hammer out. We've got to hit something. I would normally not need to hit this stuff because frankly it's so soft. You hear it. You hear that noise. Certainly not granite or tuff, is it? Here's a piece of the iron inclusion that runs all through here. And you see that's a totally different makeup. Still very sedimentary, still absolutely full, but it's all iron rich. So there's been some iron leaching in here to get that the way it is. Let's have a look for some coal, because there is some here. I saw it before. You can see down here at the western end, the siltstones are getting much darker, much more shaly. Interesting. I haven't seen any fossils yet. I've had a bit of a look. If I want, I'll let you know. Here's the sandstone. The grain is, the quartz and the rock grains in it are very, very sharp. This didn't travel far at all, and it is really well cemented. Look at that. That's hard for sandstone. That is really hard. But you've got to break the bit off if you want to see the unoxidized stuff. And that's very, very well cemented. You can see the bigger crystals have eroded out on the surface, but it's very, very well cemented. Sorry, ants. Now we're right at the southern tip of the exposure here, and this is some beautiful sandstone here. Look at the beautiful apricot hues and the fine line markings in them. Unfortunately, it's got a lot of iron bands in it, so it probably wouldn't be any good for construction or using as statuary or anything like that. But it is pretty. Well, here we are, folks, at the western end of the formation, and it's all sandstone now. It's all the Ripley Road sandstone because it's dipped down. The Raceview formation is dipped down under the ground level. You can see the dip on the way those strata move, and this is around the corner. Hey folks, just back to the northern end where you can clearly see the Ripley Sandstone and the Raceview Formation. Amazing stuff. So I promised you trachyte. So here's the Mount Julleratt quarry, hard rock quarry. And you can see the radar station on top there. I'll give you a better shot of that in a minute. So they've dug a lot of this stuff out of here over the years. It's good, hard quarry stone. Road base, aggregate, you name it. It's nice. It's a bit fractured, so I don't think you could use it for building or construction, but not many people use stone for that nowadays. I suspect it's being used in garden beds and edging and things like that around the place. So there you go, and that's the other pile of trachyte where that cutting is there on the other side of the road. So this is the entrance to the quarry. It's private property, of course. You can't go in there. You need to do all the health and safety stuff, but those rocks, that's what they look like. This is what trachyte looks like in situ. Big boulders of the stuff, awesome looking gear. You smack a piece off, it looks like this. This is an extrusive rock, so it made it to the surface. And there is another big piece of trachyte in southeast Queensland you might recognise. A little bit of Mount Biwa. But anyway, here's the radar. It's a gorgeous view from up there. I wish you could get up there. Looks really cool. Enough igneous rocks. Let's talk about coal. Well, folks, if you come to Ipswich and you don't talk about coal, I think they issue an arrest warrant for you. So here's that's Pete, the brown stuff. It's not really coal. That's coal, lignite, that's brown coal. That's sub-bituminous coal. This is bituminous coal, and on the end here we've got anthracite, the king of all coals. Only the two middle ones were mined in Ipswich. Well, folks, here we've got a beautiful big seam of black coal. Don't forget, coal is a metamorphic rock. The longer it gets cooked, the more carbon it's got. That's why the older stuff is higher carbon. Here it is. There's a swampy environment, fresh water, by the way, and lots of time.
As endless eons wheeled and passed, time and the pure essences of heaven, the moisture of the earth, the powers of the sun and the moon, all worked upon a certain rock, old as creation.
So this is coalification. Yeah, it is a word. I didn't know that myself. You see the carbon percentage there? As it goes down, it gets high. Anthracite, 91%. Graphite, 100%. Here we are. This is lignite. Stuff's garbage. It's old. It's what they mine in Victoria, in the Gippsland and the Latrobe Valley, etc. I think it's garbage, but hey, it keeps the lights on. You can't complain. And this is sub-bituminous coal. We mine this in Queensland. Some of it was mined in Ipswich, some of it wasn't. Depends how old it is. The further down you go, obviously, the older the stuff gets, the better it gets. So that's sub-bituminous, and that's where it's made there. And this is bituminous coal. This is pretty good stuff. This is most of what was mined in Ipswich and what is mined in central Queensland. You hear this called metallurgical coal. It means they can make coke with it, they can make steel with it. It's the good shit. And there's a lot of it in Queensland, an absolute lot of it. The next one is anthracite. I'd love a piece of this. I really would, but yeah, we don't get a lot of it in Australia. It is mined here, but the term's a bit loose. This black American anthracite that looks like obsidian. That's amazing stuff. 97% carbon and very old. And even older is graphite. Now, this does not come from creatures. This is Archean. This is carbon. You know, this is 2.5 billion years old. We don't get much of this in Australia. So we're looking now at the Silurian, which is where most of this happened. All of a sudden, we got these vascular plants. How did plants all of a sudden learn to stand up? Well, they evolved a wonderful organic polymer called lignin. And here its formula here. A while to evolve it, a few 100 million years, but this stuff was revolutionary. It allowed plants to stand up, and it allowed vascular plants. And the thing was, nothing can eat it. Here's Ipswich in the Triassic area. You see the Bremer River there? Oh, I have no idea where this is, but it looks like Ipswich. So nothing could eat it. Nothing could break it down. So when these trees fell into the swamps they grew in, they stayed there. And they just built up and up and up, and they built up for hundreds of millions of years. There's a couple of dinosaurs. Ipswich dinosaurs, sauropodomorphs actually, from there and lived a long time, Mesozoic. And we know they are because we found their footprint in the roof of an Ipswich coal mine back in the 1960s. They took a cast of it, and there it is. They were just cruising through in some soft sand, and it got filled up with silt, and that's what remained. Where were we again? So folks, why is in the earth about, a couple of kilometres, all the continents, a couple of kilometres thick, covered in coal? Well, because of this. This is a fungus. It took nearly 200 million years for this to evolve. The white rot fungus, there it is there, still eating our houses today. And this learnt to eat lignin. And that's when the coal formation pretty well stopped. We still get brown coal. We are forming black coal, whatever, but very, very small amounts. This is up at Blair Athol. This is a thin seam. There's some serious amounts of coal up there. There really is. So anyway, these little fellas in the front, by the way, that's us back in the Triassic years. That's where we evolved from. So it's this exists today. This is Tasmania. If you watch Rob Parsons and Levi walking through this stuff, amazing. You could be back in Pangaea. So anyway, speaking of dinosaurs,
Speaker. This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
The Treasurer knows the rule on crops.
It's coal.
well, folks, here's the Minister for Everything, was the Treasurer in those days, with the Minister for Nuclear Power having a look over his shoulder. Here's Scott, what's his name? Cole. Scott Cole. Yeah, not anymore. Yesterday's hero, I'd call him.
He is the chosen one.
Anyway, and he sees his pet beetroot, one of the better looks motor he's ever put on. You just grab this coal, you hold it in front of a camera, and money shows up in your electoral account. It's fantastic. And then, of course, that is the minister in charge of dressing up our economist and coal miner? I don't think so. All fun and games, people, but these are the real people, not those shiny-ass podgies. These people, underground, getting this stuff out. The previous photo was in the early 1900s. This is in the 1930s. None of these men would have done this if they could have found another way. None of them. This is Box Flat. Now, let's not forget, 17 men were killed in one accident at Box Flat. Here's their names. Let's not forget them, eh? Because their relatives are still alive, and I bet they still miss them, for sure. And when these politicians get up and say, oh, this is coal, it won't hurt you, they are belittling the legacy of these men. And they were men. Not a lot of female coal miners in Queensland in those days. So, yeah, in Queensland, in 141 years, we killed 441 people in mining accidents, let alone the thousands that died of black lung, silicosis, you name it. My grandfather was a coal miner at Howard, and I don't remember him because he died before I was old enough to know him of mining-related health issues, and there would have been thousands more. So, you know, with these shiny-ass politicians, or shiny-headed politicians nowadays, just take it at a grain of salt. So don't worry about that coal stuff. Dodo's got you covered. This is going to be small modular nuclear reactors running on uranium. Hey, what could go wrong? It's cheap, it's clean, and it doesn't work anywhere else.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Let's hand around the fuel pellets there, Pete. Look, never hurt anybody. It's uranium. This is Cherenkov radiation coming off a British nuclear fuel storage pool. This is the same thing, but in France. They never have found a solution to getting rid of this waste. This is in Thailand. They stick it in drums and bang it in a panel beater shed. Crazy. This is also in Britain. High-level nuclear waste being stored underwater because they've never gotten rid of one piece of it. And they estimate it's going to cost them £100 billion to get rid of it. Who's going to pay for that? It won't be the people that use the electricity, I guarantee it. It's easy to mock the pollies, and they've got a hard decision to make here, but uranium's dumb. However, it's very enticing. A kilogram of uranium releases the same amount of energy as 2,500 tonnes of coal, which is 25 rail cars. Anyway, if you're watching this in the future, which of course you have to, you can't watch it in the past, this is the Servo that's been built over the road from the cutting we were talking about today. I'm going to go Ampol. I'm going Ampol. Let me know in the comments if you know, because I have no idea. When I shot this, she was definitely just a skeleton. Remember, thank you to all you new subscribers. And if you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. Keep rocking. T-Rocks out.